Welcome to the Attention Now podcast, where we talk to successful business people and provide quality content, business mindset, and a path on how to succeed. Today on the show, we have Matt Parr. He's an entrepreneur and was in the U.S. Army. He was an 18D Special Forces medical supervisor on a Green Beret A team from 79 to 1990. He's also a partner with Assisted Global Vitality, which we're excited about to talk about that today. Matt, welcome to the show.
Hey, Dave, thanks for having me on.
It's great to see you, my friend. Uh, it's great to have you on the show. I can't wait for our audience to know you better and to hear about what you're currently working on. Can we start off with your military background? Can you tell us a little bit about your Green Beret journey?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, came right out of college. I was one of those kids who was in college at the end of the Vietnam War and prior to the desert. So I always wanted to do this. I was that 5-year-old kid who had the poster on the wall of John Wayne in a Green Beret and tiger striped camis and, be all you can be. And my dad was an Army veteran in the Korean War. My grandfather was a World War I, World War II veteran in the United States Army. So it was part of my predetermined destiny, I think. I think when you grow up in that environment and you hear about it, you talk about it at Sunday dinners, you go through grandpa's medals and your dad's medals from the wonderful things they did during the wars, it just predisposes you to want to do it. So when I graduated from college, I went home with the idea that I was going to get a job, and 60 days. I was so frustrated that I just went down to the recruiter. I was plowing snow and I was plowing a little strip mall. And every time I went down the parking lot, dumped the snow and came back, the middle of the strip mall, there was a window for the recruiter's office, and it had that same poster, the guy in the tiger stripes with the green beret and be all you can be. And I went through the thing in park and I went, I'm done plowing snow for a living. I'm going to do something meaningful.
It drew you right in. That's awesome.
It did. It was the
I never heard that
subliminal,
story. That's a great story. I love it.
the subliminal marketing of the United States military.
Oh
So
my gosh.
I went in and it was like this is classic. It was a Friday afternoon. It was like 4:30, snowing like heck in Chicago. And I walked in, there was a captain. The enlisted guys had already left because it was snowing so bad, nobody was coming out. And I walked in and I said, "Hey, sir, I want to join the Army." And he goes, "Great, come back on Monday." It was 4:45 on a Friday
Oh
afternoon.
wow. Okay.
And I said, "No, you don't understand. If I don't do this now, I'll
Not
probably
gonna
never do
happen.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to do this now. I'm in the mode. I'm ready. Let's do this." And he goes, "Look, it's Friday. Can you come back on Monday?" And I went, "No." And he goes, "All right, sit down." And I was in a reception station on Wednesday, and I was at Fort Leonard Wood in basic training on Friday.
Holy cow.
He was like, "You want to go? I'll get you there."
Wow.
So, and you know
That's
what? Best
awesome.
thing that ever happened, because I think if it would have been a big delay, I think I would have backed out.
Yeah, you might have second
My
guessed yourself.
mindset.
It's like, is that really what I want to do? It's not snowing that bad today. Let's
Yeah, I
go.
was a 21-year-old kid and I just didn't have it glued together yet. So I went in the military, and it was, to me, it was the most meaningful thing I've done thus far in my life. It imprinted me. It's who I am.
Mhm.
It's in me.
Yeah, it's part of your DNA. Did I miss
Yeah.
anything on the intro that I didn't mention?
Say again.
Did I miss anything on the intro that I did not mention about you?
I don't know. I wasn't paying attention.
Okay, nice.
So let me just recap it real quick. I went to basic training. I went in as a 91B, regular Army medic. But I told the captain and I told everybody along the way, I said, "I'm going all the way to Special Forces." And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, sure
Nice.
you are. Okay, everybody's going to
Yeah,
be a
good
Green."
luck. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, go get him, Tiger. That kind of stuff. But I had it drilled in my head that I didn't come here to play. And so I went to basic training. I went to AIT, advanced individual training. And while I was in the basic medical course, which to me was a gimme, I was already an EMT. I'd already been to paramedic school. And I had my undergrad school and college was pre-med and business admin, because I wanted to be a doctor and I wanted to learn how to run my doctor's clinic. So that's what I studied. And I didn't have enough money to go to grad school, and I wasn't going to dump that on my parents who had, I'm one of six
Oh,
kids,
wow. Okay.
and my parents had a bunch of foster kids in the house. I'm not putting that on them. So I joined the Army with the idea I was going to go to med school.
Wow.
And while I was in 91B school, a guy showed up in a Green Beret uniform from Special Forces from the recruiting command. And he goes, I heard you want to be a Green Beret. And I said, that's my goal. And he said, well, you fit the profile. You got a college education. You're over 21 years of age. You've got all the boxes are checked. I can make that happen. He goes, I can get you to the training. You got to pass it. I go, I'm in. Let's go. So I
Nice.
went right from 91B school to jump school, which I
Oh,
was
wow.
not pre-slated for. They got me greased up to go to jump school. And when we were graduating jump school, I broke my thumb throwing a frisbee.
Oh my gosh.
One of those days I shouldn't have been drinking beer, having fun,
Yep. Yep. I get
I
it.
threw it between my legs. I caught my thumb in my baggy shorts and I threw it so hard I just cracked that bone in my wrist. And they go, 6 weeks in an arm cast.
No,
What? I got to go to jump school. They go, you can't do a push-up. And I couldn't. I couldn't put any weight on my hand. 6 weeks, and they pushed me off to Fort Stewart, Georgia. I did the 6 weeks working in the emergency room staff with a big trash bag wrapped around my cast to keep it from getting wet. And I was unloading ambulances. I was chasing helicopters coming in. I was starting IVs. I was putting stitches in people. I was having a blast.
Oh my
And
gosh.
my cast came off and they go, all right, you're going to the Q course. I go, when? They go, Friday. I go, it's Wednesday. They go, you're scheduled to be there, Fort Bragg, on Friday. So I out-processed. I ran to Fort Bragg, and I thought I was going to the pre-selection, the pre-phase, what's now called selection, kind of the warm-up to the
Right. Exactly. Right.
training. Yeah, they go, no, that ended last week. Selection or the Q course starts tomorrow.
It's like you're in.
What? Okay, here we go. And I wasn't really in shape for it, so it kicked my butt. Phase one was it's all physical, mental, emotional, no sleep, no food, barely get water type thing, and it tests who you are. And
Yeah.
I'm glad I went through it. Thank God I was a Boy Scout first because I knew how to navigate. I wasn't afraid of being in the woods in the dark, and because all that stuff was what actually caused people to fail in the beginning.
Right.
And then I went to phase two, which was the medical training for the SF medic course. And that smoked my brain. That was like 3 years of med school in 12 months.
Oh, wow.
Just smoked my brain. We were up at 5 a.m. doing PT, doing the physical stuff in the, then breakfast, then into the classroom, a test in the afternoon and evenings in the labs, doing your rehearsal stuff for tomorrow, drawing blood, doing lab tests, doing all that stuff. And it was 7 days a week, 20 hours a day for 12 months. And then boom, right to phase three, which was very physical and where they bring all the guys together from all the MOSs and you start forming teams. And it was like unbelievable. So 18 months and then boom, I'm thrown into a Special Forces A team. I was in 514, which was the A company, first to the fifth, one of the most deployable teams in Special Forces in the early 80s, and ended up on a team. One of the senior weapons guy, I got married after I got to the team. The senior weapons guy in the team married her sister. They met at my wedding.
Oh my
and
goodness.
we were brother-in-law. So I mean, this group was like family.
Yeah.
And I was there until 1985, and then I had to go into some schoolhouse stuff. I spent a year and a half at JRTC, the Joint Readiness Training Center. From there, I went to Fort Drum for 12 months to stand up their training committee for the newly relaunched 10th Mountain Division. And when I was there was 70 people on the whole base. When I left, there was 2,200, and there was more coming in every day. And they stood up that whole division. It was a division. They stood up that whole division in like 2.5, 3 years. But I was there for the first year of it, and then they go, all right, where do you want to go? And I go, I want to go back to group. And they said, well, they're standing up third group, getting ready for the desert. I'm in. Let's go. So they sent me to Fort Bragg. I spent about, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months waiting for third group to stand up. So we're just doing PT, running. I was setting up all the medical supplies for 1st Battalion of third group. And the sergeant major came down one day. He goes, we're having a night jump on Friday. Combat equipment, get all your stuff ready. Roger that. I'm ready. Let's go. And they put us out late. I was in the last sortie, the last man on the last stick. And I went in the trees. And Ended up doing a lot of damage to my body, my face, my neck, my lower back, my hip. And then it started a 4 year trudge uphill of medical recovery.
Hmm.
And what ended up being 30 years of back pain.
Wow.
And, and that's what brings me to my current career. During that time, I was out of the military. I spent, I don't know, 28 years in health and wellness, medical sales. Loved it. Was searching for things to help me with my back pain and my injuries, keeping flexibility, keeping myself moving. And in finding that, then I had no trouble with advocating for those types of products. But at the end of 30 years, my wife got cancer and died suddenly, and it sucked the life out of me. It was the hardest I've ever been punched in the face, is when the doctor looked at me and said, "John has got cancer."
Hmm.
And I just remember that day I went blank, and I stayed that way for 4 years while we fought through her cancer battle, and ultimately it claimed her life and they took her to heaven. So
Wow.
um, I got two
Yeah.
grown daughters.
Okay.
They were Jonna's daughters. I'm the stepdad. They're both adults now. They're 29 and 30. Both have careers. One's married, one's fixing to. They're both thriving. And I went, yeah, I'm out of here. You guys don't need me. I'm done with the big city. I want to go back and live in the country again. I've done it once. I'm going to do it again. So I packed up my stuff in a trailer and I moved to Wyoming.
Nice.
So that was 4 years ago. And over the last 4 years, I've been searching for ways to stop this pain, because I'd wake up in pain every morning, go to bed every night, groaning and grunting and groaning like an old man. And I go, I'm done with this. I want to find a way to fix it.
Yeah,
Even
and
if
I'm
I have to.
excited about hearing more about that, but let's put that on pause for a minute.
Okay.
Let me go through a couple quick questions. I want to kind of wrap up with that so
Yeah.
people know, what this is all about. You and I have had a conversation. We've had a Zoom call with some people, with other Special Forces guys on there. A buddy of mine is going to be taking advantage of that, of what we're going to be talking about. He just called me like 5 minutes before the podcast. He said, "Hey, Dave, I'm leaving tomorrow." So we'll talk about that in a minute. So thanks for sharing that recap. That's awesome. There's a lot of things I've learned about you that I didn't know, Matt. So this is awesome. Just a couple quick questions. What was the most valuable lesson you learned in the Army?
Discipline.
Discipline?
Um,
Okay. Yep.
Discipline and focus, to be able to stay on point on one thing until it's finished. I think that is the thing that has made me, whatever you want to define successful as. I feel like I've been successful in business. I've raised a family. I paid the bills. We had money in the bank. We had the toys. We had the big house. So by some standard, I was successful. And I was also honored with several things that I attribute my military training to causing. And that was, being the top guy in my industry for several years out of a 28-year career,
Hmm.
getting to work with the most high level people in the industry of health and wellness, and them coming to me asking me for my opinion. So, I mean, there's things that have happened along the way that have made me feel successful, however you want to define that. And I attribute all that to my military training.
Awesome, awesome. And I had that same question, a couple sentences or paragraphs down here. The right mindset, would you say the Army or family?
Well, family first. You
Family
know,
first. There you go. Yep.
it's life is
So
very
did you learn that? You learned from family first, is what you're saying?
well. No, I think I've learned from all of it, but
Okay.
I think the priorities are family first, then your career,
Right.
actually God, family, finance, and your physical thing. Those are the four priorities that I've always operated under.
Okay.
Uh, and then, so yeah, family's part of it. The military's been part of it. The military's been 1/3 of my entire life,
Right.
so my adult life of what I've done to contribute and serve and earn. And so it had a big impact.
Yeah, I totally agree. So, what was the biggest challenge you faced in the Army?
The physical demands.
Okay.
The physical demands of being a Green Beret. I served a short period with Ranger Battalion. So I was a U.S. Army Ranger and a Green Beret. The physical demands of those two career choices are huge. Knees, hips, ankles, lower back, upper back, because you got a 100-pound rucksack on your back, at least 85,
Right.
sometimes 110, so you got 80 to 100 pounds on your back like a turtle. And you're jumping out of airplanes, you're rappelling out of helicopters, you're climbing mountains,
Hmm.
you're swimming in the ocean, all methods of delivery of transportation. It wears on you. It does take a toll.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why
Okay.
I'm always humored when I go in for my VA evaluations and they go, yeah, we don't cover that. And I go, we cover needs? Wow. Who wrote that?
Yeah, yeah,
How,
let
how
me.
can you how can you go through the military, whether it's Marine Corps like you did or the Army like I did? How can you do that and not expect that some of the damage to your knees, hips, lower back, and neck is they're going to say none of it's from the military? That's
Right.
insane.
And we need to
Yeah.
put a 100-pound rucksack on them for a little bit and let them experience it, right? It's like then,
That's another podcast. We could
then.
spend days on that.
And while you were serving, did you have any challenges with like PTSD and TBI at all?
Um, well, yeah, I mean, anytime you pop a door with an explosive device, and
Yep.
I wasn't the demo guy. I was usually right behind him. I was in
You're
the
close enough, right?
Yeah, I was never the first guy through the door, but there's only 12 guys on an A team. They were all
Right.
huddled up around the door. The door goes boom. You do that enough times, go spend a week on the demo range learning how to do that, and you'll have a TBI or at least some impact to your brain housing group, especially back in the 80s when earplugs were usually wadded up old cigarette butts.
Oh my gosh.
Those
Yeah, I remember
foam,
those. Yep.
those little cheap foam
Those little
earplugs.
orange ones. Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
those things. Oh, yeah. That's why every time you ask me a question, I go, huh? And I
Oh,
go to bed at
and by
night
the way, oh, actually, I think the VA did say that they're categorizing that finally, right?
for the guys who served after 9/11,
Okay, interesting.
not
Yeah.
the guys before.
Oh, the guys before where they were fine. Okay.
Yeah, you're good. We've deemed you good. That's
Oh my.
positive.
Uh, what drives you every day, Matt?
Wow. I don't know. I guess I think about that a lot. I really
Okay.
don't know the answer to that question. You're the first person that's asked me that in a public forum. I used to say things like, "Oh, my wife and family and kids." Well, I lost my wife, and that sucks, and it still sucks.
Right.
I actually got remarried in May, so 4 years later, I created this relationship with a lady that has been an awesome blessing to me. Her name is Raven. She one of the few people that understands me. Like Jonna understood me as a soldier and a businessman.
Okay.
Raven understands me as that, plus a guy who lost the most important person in his life,
Oh, wow. That's
her
amazing.
coming into his
Okay.
life. And she goes, the hard part here is I resist trying to replace Jonna, but
Right.
yet I really want Raven in my life. So we've had to sort that out. That
You got
that
that battle
that
going
was
on
a hard
inside.
mix.
Yeah.
So I guess when you add it all up, I would say I'm a survivor
Hmm.
and I want to survive. My dad's 94 years old next week on the 15th.
Oh,
I
wow.
know I got a lot more years on this planet. At least, I mean, he's 27 years older than me. So I got at least 27 left.
Right.
And both of his parents lived to be 99 and right at 100.
Oh, my goodness.
So
Great
I know
longevity.
that, yeah, I've got some good genes. And I'm not talking about Levi's or Wranglers. I'm talking about, I got some good genes. So that's what drives me is I want to get up every day. I want to stay mobile. I hike mountains. I have a 2-year-old German Shepherd or a Chechen Shepherd pup that I'm training. He drives me. Usually it's a cold nose under the blanket. Like get up, I got to go outside.
That's your alarm clock. Yep.
Raven drives me. Keeping my kids focused drives me. My spiritual beliefs drives me. So I think it's not one, it's
The
everything.
combination. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I miss the mountains in California. I used to run those every day, so I'm envious that you're out there walking. That's awesome.
Well, I live about 5 miles from the base of Beartooth Pass, which is the one of the top three mountain ranges in the United States for hiking, ice climbing, rock climbing, bouldering,
Oh
and
my gosh.
snow skiing. And it's one of the top three motorcycle rides in our country.
Wow. What
And
beautiful peace and nature. I can't even imagine. That's awesome, man. Great job moving out there. What advice would you give to your 20-year-old self? That's a long one
Don't
to think about.
don't ever stop. Don't ever stop. If you
Okay,
Because the only way you fail in this life is if you
that's true. Yep.
because if you quit in the bottom. If you
Right.
quit in the top, you didn't fail. You go out on top is the whole concept, right? Be your best, do your best, give 110%, not 50%, and go out on top. Don't quit at the bottom. Because if you quit at the bottom, you fail. But
Right.
you did that, you quit. Because I've been at the bottom, I've been at the top financially, emotionally, mentally, in business and in life. I've been on both ends of that. And right now I'm regrouping. I'm on the way up again. And so the only way you fail is if you stop.
Right. Yeah,
You don't.
I think that life's a cycle. We have our ups and downs all the time, right?
Yeah.
And we just got to keep moving forward, keep climbing that mountain, and
Yep.
and be great examples, I think, right? Be examples for others, right? So,
Yeah. And it's mental. It's mental. If you allow yourself to get beat up, you'll stop. I mean,
right,
I've quit.
right.
I just didn't quit 2 days in a row. I
There you
quit
go.
it for one day, and the next day I went, BS, I'm back in it. Let's go.
And that's powerful because a lot of people get tied up so much in one day. It's like, hey, look how long you've lived already, right? So it's
Six,
like,
six
guess
and a
what? Tomorrow's a brand new day and you're going to be fine. Excuse me, I dropped my paper. Tomorrow's a brand new day. You're going to be fine. So, just always keep that in mind.
Yeah, I'm less
Awesome, man.
than 90 days from being 67 years old,
Oh, wow.
one day at a time,
There you go.
one more day. And I think that's how I got through the special forces training was I can do one more mile, I can do one more ruck, I can do one more jump, I can do one more push-up, I can do one more, just do one more. And then tomorrow, wake up and do one more.
Yeah, it's amazing when you how your perspective could change in the morning, right? Compared to at
Oh,
night.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So thanks for sharing all that, Matt. I'm excited to find out a little bit more about your assisted global vitality, and I've actually partnered with Matt on helping others with this. So if you could share a little bit about what you're doing, and that would be awesome.
Absolutely. And this is really the most organic thing I've ever done. Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat today.
No problem.
We have fires all the way around us right now, so there's a lot of smoke in the air.
That's why I have water and coffee next to me.
Oh
There you
yeah.
go.
I'm trying to overcome all the phlegm. So anyway, assisted global vitality, very organic experience for me. A year ago, I was in a lot of pain. I had slipped on the ice about 14, 15, 16 months ago. Slipped on a little bit of ice getting in or out of my truck. I can't remember. I think I was getting in it. And I opened the door and whoop, and I had a handle in one hand and I grabbed the oh shit handle of the inside of the truck in the other hand. And I caught myself. And when I did it, I jerked my neck out of place. And I haven't really hurt myself bad in a long time because I'm careful because I know my neck is tentative, my lower back is tentative from all the injuries. And
Well, you were saying earlier that you had an injury when you were on a night jump, right? So what happened
yeah,
on that?
I
You
went
didn't.
through a tree.
What's that?
Went through a tree.
I know, but what happened physically to your body?
I destroyed my neck, all six vertebrae in your cervical spine.
Oh, wow.
I've had to have this part of my jaw replaced because the bone lost blood supply from all the damage when I hit here in the tree. And
Did you pass out when that happened?
oh yeah,
Yeah, kind of figured you would. Yeah.
you can't take your full body weight underneath your chin.
Yeah.
You know,
And
even if
and the velocity of falling, right?
yeah, and I had 100+ pounds of equipment on me, at a ruck and weapon. Everything was hanging on me on a lowering line. So when I hit that tree limb, it was like stop, and then bounce through the tree and end up on the ground. And I didn't know how bad I was hurt. I actually waddled my way to the ambulance that was right over there in the drop zone with the lights on, and it was pouring rain and windy. It was just everything was wrong with the whole thing. And got to the hospital, and They go, yeah, you broke your neck and you shattered some vertebrae in your lower back and you've ruptured some discs and you're probably not gonna ever walk again. And I didn't
Wow.
walk for a long time. I went from a wheelchair to a walker where I could waddle behind a walker. And then I found a lady who specialized in impact injuries to the spine. And when the military turned me loose, I went to Chicago and hooked up with a lady called Dr. Becky and Dr. Becky Boros. And she's a lifesaver for me. She had me up and walking without sticks and crutches in about 8 weeks,
Holy
6, 8
cow.
weeks. Yeah.
Wow.
But then I had pain. And then
Okay.
it was pain management for 28 more years. And I was like, this sucks. So a year and a half ago, I finally got back on my feet after Jana passed and finally starting to get my head out of my fourth point of contact and
Right.
uh, decided that it was time for me to do something to make my life better. I didn't have anybody else relying on me at that point. I wasn't remarried yet. My kids were doing their own thing. And so I took some money that I had stashed and um, I went and found a guy to give me a stem cell infusion of umbilical cord stem cells. I did a bunch of research on it. Jana had a stem cell transplant when she was going through her cancer battle. I learned a ton by being around the transplant team because I was involved in everything she went through. I went with her on every appointment. When she went in the hospital, I was in the hospital. So I had all these interactions with these medical pros, these high level doctors, hematologists, and transplant doctors, and anti rejection doctors from the transplant. She had all kinds of weird alternative therapeutic type things because she had a really bad cancer battle
Mm.
and they were trying to, elongate her life as long as possible,
Right.
which is what she wanted. So I took that knowledge and I applied it to current day. Now, this is, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, they started the research using stem cells and how it could be used and what was the best way to do it. Today, you see all kinds of stuff. You see people taking their own stem cells out, putting them back in, injecting them into joints like knees and ankles and hips and
Hmm.
vertebrae and stuff like that. And I did the research on that. I actually even tried, and my brother did it too. He did an injection into a knee of his own stem cells, and it gives you some relief, but it's not permanent. And the other thing you got to remember is I'm in my 60s. By the time you're in your 60s, 80% of your stem cells have been expended.
Right,
You're
exactly.
operating on a 15% emergency response team that's laying around in your bone marrow trying to survive in case you need it for your heart or your brain or to repair something. And that's what they call aging. It's a
Right.
depletion of your stem cells. When you're a baby, you're nothing but stem cells. You're growing and building, and from the day from in the time that they're in your utero till the time that they're 3 or 4 years old. It's all stem cell activity. It's creating new organs and growing them and making them bigger and creating better bones and finishing up the growth plates and all that stuff. Well, when you're 60, you're just like hanging on. Your stem cells are there as an emergency response team. So I decided instead of recycling my diminished cells, why not go get some cells from a donor that were from a C-section birth.
Hmm.
And they take the umbilical cord and they clamp it at both ends because once they cut it, it starts signaling stem cells for repairs and it DNA directs them. When the stem cells are between the mother and the baby, they're not DNA directed yet, they're neutral.
Nice.
They're the most potent stem cells that are known to man.
Well,
And
that's where
so
we're being developed from that, right? So,
yeah. And I go, that's what I want. And
right.
so then it was uh the exercise of go find somebody to get them for you and give them to you. They
Got it.
weren't allowing that stuff in the US. They still aren't.
Okay.
I was aware because of the UFC and I follow, Joe Rogan and Dana White and those guys because I'm a physical guy.
A
I
lot
was
of
a Marine.
NFL
A
guys are doing it. Yep.
lot of NFL guys are doing it. NBA guys are doing it. I follow.
Right.
So you'd see that stuff on social media. And so I started looking up these clinics and I called Costa Rica. I called a clinic in Panama that does it. They're the leader of the pack in the
Yep.
industry, but they're also really pricey. I
Yeah,
mean, it doesn't make
exactly.
it wrong. It's not right or wrong. But
Right.
I $25,000 to spend on that type of a therapy. So I kept digging. I kept digging. I kept digging. Anyway, I found a guy to do it for me. I got great results, and it was a fraction of the cost of what the big name brand clinics were. The stem cells are stem cells. You get them
Right.
from an umbilical cord, they're stem cells. And the lab process is the lab process. The labs all do very similarly. The technology is in how they separate the stem cells from the rest of the blood, because it's in the blood product and the debris that's in the blood that causes rejection in the person that's getting the donation.
Got it. Okay.
So that the new technology is in the centrifuges and how they separate it without exposing those cells to the air, which then starts to cause them to get damaged. It's called oxidative damage. And a lot of technical stuff. Here's the bottom line. I found a guy, he gave me 20 million stem cells in an IV in my arm. It took 5 minutes. I had no issues with it. The rejection over the last 9 or 10 years that they've been studying this has been zero.
Wow.
So I feel really comfortable with it. And in a very short period of time, I almost hesitate to tell people how fast it happened because it sounds like BS.
Right. Exactly. It's
It
like,
happened
yeah,
so
yeah.
quickly. But I'll
Right.
just say this, in less than a couple of weeks, I was waking up in the morning, no pain. I still have no pain a year and a half later. It's amazing to me.
Wow.
I'm
After
so
30
glad I did
years
it.
of suffering.
Yeah. I
Wow.
go, why didn't we have this 30 years ago? I could have foregone 30 years of being in pain, being crabby and being, treating people poorly because I was in pain. And now I'm a happy guy and I'm loving life. I'm back walking mountains. I'm training dogs. I'm shooting my bow and arrow. I'm going deer hunting on the 15th
Oh,
next week.
wow. Okay.
I'm going to go elk hunting in November. It's real strenuous activities that for the last 20 years, I've always had difficulty even trying to
That's
participate in.
incredible. That's a big blessing. When you were researching the clinics, did this doctor have a lot of experience with stem cells? What was his background like? Because I'm sure people are going to say, "Hey, who is this guy?" Right?
Yeah, he's one of the grandfathers of the stem cell research area. He's been doing this for 9 years, almost 10.
Oh, wow.
He's a medical doctor, an MD. He has a clinic in the United States. He does internal medicine and surgery in Southern California. He is a American. I don't know what he is. He's an American, but he's Mexican. So
Okay.
he's
Mexican
American.
American. Yeah.
Okay. He's bilingual.
Okay.
He's been trained in multiple countries, and he speaks on a platform about stem cells internationally.
Oh,
Like
wow.
just a
Okay.
week or two ago, he was somewhere in Europe speaking to medical doctors about the advances in stem cell therapy.
So he's highly respected in the industry then.
Oh yeah, he's one
Yeah.
of the top 10 guys in the industry
Oh,
globally.
wow. Okay.
And he has a clinic just across the border in Mexico where he does stem cell infusions, umbilical cord stem cell infusions, because the US has not yet approved that stuff.
Right.
And and it doesn't mean that the US is just bogged down in bureaucracy. We're such a big country.
Right.
The industries of medicine are so big. So everybody's got their hand out, in some way. And so it drives the cost up and it slows the processes down. And so I went out of the country to get it done, but I also went out of the country to get my teeth fixed, get my jaw replaced, because it was 25% of the cost of doing it here. Instead
Wow.
of costing 50 grand here, I paid $15,000 to have the same surgery to have this jaw rebuilt and my teeth replaced.
That
That's a big difference.
that's
And when I
huge
was
difference. Yeah.
there, I met the doctor that I use for the stem cells. He's in the same area in the medical district in Mexico, and I've been down there 6 times in the last year and a half for dental work, and then finally I just created a relationship with this guy, and I said, "How come you're not advertising in Europe and in the United States?" And he says, "Well, I don't have any. That's not my strength, and I don't have anybody in my clinic that's a marketing person." And I said, that's what I do.
It's like I could do that, right? That's what you were
That's what I
saying.
do. That's what I've been doing for 28 years in health and wellness products and medical technologies. I go, maybe we should put something together. And he goes, great, let's talk. So we struck a deal, and and that has now grown into AGV. And just to be fair with everybody, this is a new idea. We haven't been doing this long. We're actually still revamping our website and stuff. So if you go on the internet and look up assisted global vitality, it's not going to come up yet. It'll come up in probably another 14 days. So what we're talking about is the very beginning stages of this referral system to send people to this doctor and to help them sort out all the information and misinformation of the internet and end up with high quality medical support and the latest, greatest technology in stem cell therapy that helps a lot of things. Now, it's not a silver bullet, it doesn't cure everything.
Right.
But if you're in, if you have an injury, whether it's musculoskeletal or if you've had issues with your heart or lungs or brain, things that are vascular, things that are supplied with a lot of blood, then stem cell infusions are the way to go because you get all those cells in there and those cells become whatever cell is damaged and they replace it and rebuild it and repair it. And we call it regeneration and
Yep.
repair. And that's what stem cells are best at. And that's why we're doing what we're doing.
That's awesome. And you mentioned that he does a fraction of the cost. How's he able to do that compared to other clinics out there?
I mean, he's not making Ferrari payments.
So
He's not
he's just being
paying.
fair to the public.
Yeah, yeah. He's not paying high level sports professionals a huge referral fee to get on social media and be an influencer for them.
Okay.
He's just doing his marketing organically, word of mouth, one satisfied customer to the next, and us, me and Victor. And Victor lives in Central Europe. He's in the Netherlands,
Okay.
and he has a long history of special forces background. That's why we're friends. He's a Dutch special forces guy that I met going to a personal development weekend. I don't know, 15 years ago,
Oh,
and
wow.
we just stuck. It was like, bam! I met his wife, and he met my wife in the crowd at the same time, and both of our wives brought us together,
Wow.
and we've been best of buddies ever since. And he and his wife run a therapy clinic in the Netherlands called Unlimited People, and they help people with burnout, with mental, emotional, and spiritual issues.
Okay.
Usually high-level CEOs and professional athletes, that kind of stuff. And he goes, "I want to do this with you." And so we
Hmm.
partnered and we created the company together.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's fun.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. We're almost wrapped up. I know you got an appointment to go to. Let me just go here real quick. So if anybody wants to get a hold of us regarding AGV, just go ahead and text Matt or myself. Obviously, he's on LinkedIn, on social media. Just text us attention now so we know you heard it on the podcast. That would be great.
Yeah.
And let's take a look here. Couple final questions here. How much does faith have to do with your success?
A lot. I think without faith, you lose hope. And without hope, you give up. And
Yeah.
when you give up, you perish. So it's said in the good book that a man without faith will perish. A man without belief will perish. Depends on which translation you read.
Right.
Uh, and so I'm a big believer. Hey, how can you deny everything that's around you? I mean, what did
All that nature you have around you now, right? It's like
some scientists create that mountain or
yeah,
God?
exactly.
I mean, did some scientists make it rain yesterday or did God do that? I mean, it's
Right.
like at some point you got to accept in your life that there is a supreme being who is bigger, badder, and better than we are.
Absolutely. I agree with you
Otherwise,
100%.
otherwise we're operating in our own ego.
Right.
And so, yeah, I believe in God. I believe in God. Jesus is my savior. There's a lot of different varieties. Spiritual life is like a smorgasbord of food. If you don't like green beans, don't take any. If you're not into pick a religion, don't go there.
Right.
But I think you'd be hard pressed not to believe that there is, or not to believe in a God. And it's my God is Jesus and God Himself. And
Amen.
that's just
Awesome.
where
Awesome.
100%.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. Can you share some words of wisdom for the audience on what it takes to succeed and how to achieve success for themselves?
Yeah, work really hard. The harder I work, the luckier I got.
There you go.
But you got to have systems. It's about people and processes.
Right.
Those two things are the things that create successful companies. One of the companies I worked with in my career, I was with them about, I don't know, 7 years. We did $2 billion in new sales in 60 months.
Wow.
It wasn't me or the owner or that guy or that girl, or it was a
The whole
tribe.
team.
There
Yep.
was 50 of us that were the field leaders internationally in 17 countries. And we exploded it. We worked our buns off. I worked the hardest I've ever worked was the military. The second hardest I ever worked was doing that program. And so that was also the biggest success I've ever had in my life. It's the only time in my life I've ever made six figures in a month, and I did it a lot. And we did that because we worked together. So it was like collaboration, tribe mentality, work really hard, be the best you can be. But you got to get focused on something that has the potential of what you want your goals to be. I think the thing that I see most in the younger generation, and I'm not talking down to them or being critical of them because I was that a
Right.
long time, but I was
Exactly.
that once. But the younger generation sometimes gets brain locked on, I can force this to happen when the product or the service or the company or the mindset or the financial backing of it just doesn't have it. It's got to be all of it. It can't be just one thing, it's everything. But once you find that everything situation with the right people, the right product, the right process, the right systems, then you got to go to work. And I think that's an area where sometimes we run into the group of people that got trophies for showing up. They don't think they need to work as hard. And I feel sorry for them because they're going to figure it out.
Right.
And when they get to be my age, they're going to look back and go, man, I wish I'd have started that sooner. So
Yeah, it's
that
amazing. We learn in the military to have teams and squads, and you could succeed that way. And it's the same thing with business. Be around the right people, have people that are moving forward, but have those systems in place as well. I agree with you.
why you
Awesome.
and I are friends. You
Exactly.
know,
There you go.
we started out as casual acquaintances with a veteran background, and it's grown into a business brother relationship. And like Dave Diaz is a brother to me. If Dave
Absolutely.
Diaz's number pops up on my phone, it does not go to voicemail. I don't care how busy I am. Uh, he and another guy, Hiram Figueroa, those two guys have been with me through the worst part of my life, which was the 4 years when Jonna was sick and the 4 years after. And without them, I mean, they don't know this, but without their influence, their posts, their texts and emails, just checking up on me, helped me get through to the next day and kept me wanting to go forward. And for that, I'll eternally be grateful. And that's why we're in business together, because we respect and admire each other. Across the border, we love each other. We are
Yep.
brothers.
Yep.
And
Absolutely. Yeah. And
that means
I
more to
love you
me.
too, brother. And thank you so much for that. And you've been a great help and support for me as well. And looking to hang out with you a little bit more, which will be awesome. Uh, what would you like the people listening today to know or remember about you or your business?
I don't care. It's, uh, it's like none of that stuff really matters to me
Okay.
anymore. I have a different perspective about life. I used to want to have, the big car, the big house. I had the big car, the big house.
Right.
And you know what? When you lose your health, it don't matter because you're never going to have enough to get buy your health back. So I lost interest in a lot of that stuff. I started this business not for the money that it makes, but for the good that it can do to help other people.
Right.
And and heck, I'll be candid about it. I get a discount. If I need another stem cell infusion, I'm going to get a discount because I'm giving this guy a lot of business.
Right.
And yeah, it's a business. Businesses have to make money, but they don't have to be cruel to people. And I think that overcharging people for medicine, for life-saving transformation, is one of the cruelest things that we could do to each other as humans. And it pisses me off.
Yeah.
It raises my blood pressure. That and politics. And that's why I don't discuss politics and I don't do business with people in medicine that overcharge for their services.
Right.
I get it. They spend a lot of money to go to college, but you don't have to be greedy.
Right.
This guy,
Exactly. And that,
the
and
guy
that's what I
who
love
worked,
about that, the doctor and what you guys are offering is that you want to help the people that are just regular people, all the veterans that could get down there, right? Help out with all the challenges they're having, whether it's mental clarity or whatever the case is. There's a lot of it's an option for a great solution for them, which is great.
Let me leave it with this, Dave.
Yeah.
I spent less money on my stem cell infusion than I spent the year before on pain med copays through the VA.
Oh wow. Holy cow.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like a couple
You were
hundred.
spending that much with pain meds and the copay?
Dude, my back is destroyed, was destroyed. Now, when you go look at the x-rays and the MRIs now
Right.
versus ones from 2 years ago, the doctors look at them. I even had my local doctor did my physical. He goes, I looked at your MRIs. He goes, what the heck did you do? And I go, why? And he goes, 2 years ago, you looked like, how do you walk? And now you look like, what the heck happened?
Right. Wow.
Is that radically different?
Oh.
So, it's worth checking out if you're in pain or you're having problems, it's something with your brain or your heart or muscles or bones or hips or joints or something, reach out to Dave or send me, a message on social media and let me know that you heard us on the podcast. And I'll be glad to get the information to you. You can sort it out. We'll help you get your questions answered. We're not sales guys. We're just people who know that it works, and we're helping other people find out about it.
Absolutely. Man, thank you so much for being on today, brother. Learned a lot about you that I did not know. And again, may God bless you and your family, and let's keep on fighting and helping others out there.
Thanks, Dave. Have a great week.
All right, buddy. Have a good one.